The residents of the Amona outpost are being offered a new agreement from the government this week. And here to discuss the issue in the studio are Yariv, the Assistant Director of Standing Together, and Yariv Oppenheimer, the former Director of Peace Now. Thanks so much for coming in, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So this new government deal to move twice the amount of families, Amona families, to a plot of land nearby instead of to a nearby settlement, Ofra, has just been accepted by the Amona settlers. How will this affect the overall evacuation and the transition? Are we going to see less of a conflict?
It's still too early to say because we need to see if the Supreme Court is going to approve it as well. It's not so easy. There are people that demand the land around this outpost, and it's in a process. But if it's going to be approved, for sure we will see less intensive evacuation because the people of Amona are going to accept it quietly. Maybe some other youths that are coming from outside of the outpost are going to make some demonstrations and make it a bit more energetic, but the people of Amona, and this is the main issue that can shake the government, they are going to obligate to evacuate quietly, and therefore it's going to be less dramatic than it was look like a few hours ago.
Natasha, the truth of the matter is this: the agreement is a little bit of a farce because people are being kicked out of their homes, and no Arabs are moving in. In other words, the appeal that Yariv Oppenheimer and his organization Peace Now brought to the courts was not about bringing Arabs back into their fields. No one's coming back in. In fact, till date, there's not a single Arab who can actually bring proof of ownership. So yes, the deal is happening, and unfortunately, what Yariv just said is really libelous. I mean, when have these people, the residents of Amona, ever spoken violently? Years ago, when they boosted the people out of Amona and destroyed 9 homes which were legally built, it was the police that were violent. This constant bashing of the people in Judea and Samaria is just wrong. We hear it from the worst enemies of Israel. I don't understand why someone would say...
Let's be honest.
One second, excuse me. I don't understand why someone would say it'll be less violent. When were the people in Amona ever violent?
I didn't say violent. I said it will be less passionate, less energetic. And if you want to see the movie clip from the last evacuation, you will see that the settlers were violent as well, and they threw stones. And if they were Palestinian, you will say that they tried to kill
all due respect,
and to hit and to wounded Israeli soldiers.
Incorrect. The police were put on charges. The head of police said, "I know those religious people.
I can
let
show
them
you
burn."
the video.
Yariv, the head of police last time said, "Let those religious people burn." Do you condemn that statement?
Yes, of course.
So it wasn't the people. It was not the people.
But let's speak about what you said about the Arab people that are not going to allow to their places. This is the result of the government initiative. Let me finish. If the government will allow them to get back to their land, they are going to get back to the land. Here we are talking about a principle, and the principle is a Jewish one, saying not steal. You are not allowed to steal land that belong to other people. This is the story of Amona.
I have to point this out. I have to point something out for 1 second. What you just said is very nice, but it's factually incorrect. There are no Arabs with any proof.
I can show you the names.
So show me the no, not the names. Yaron.
These are the people that went to the Supreme Court.
Listen to me. I don't want the names.
Okay, so
I want proof of ownership. When you come and sue me, the first thing you have to show is proof of ownership. To date, there is no proof of ownership. True or not true?
No, not true. Because you know that today, if you want to see who is the owner of the land, you need to go to the civil administration. And the civil administration, from day one, say to the Supreme Court, this is a private Palestinian land.
Okay,
and
again,
therefore you cannot legalize
okay, let's move on to the next question.
I asked you if there's an Arab with proof of ownership.
Let's talk about the overall issue here, okay? What does this mean, if the Amona settlers are in fact evacuated as we think is going to happen on December 25th? What does this mean for the rest of the West Bank and the Israelis living in Judea and Samaria in these settlements?
So this is actually a great question because the truth of the matter is, even if they would move to Ofra, Yariv wants to see those people kicked out as well. In other words, this is a solution that we're all talking about, but Yariv and the organization Peace Now doesn't want Ofra existing. They don't want anyone existing in Judea and Samaria. So the solution is like
Don't talk in my behalf, please.
Okay, fine.
In any case,
clarify. What is Peace Now?
Let me just... Ofra, for example, is all built on the same claims that they're making about Amona. So unless he is not being straight with his own views, They want the people to know fraud, and well, please correct me if I'm wrong.
It's
Well,
not
that's
a
where the
secret.
question
Yeah.
comes in here. Why? Why is peace now pushing for this? You know, we see the Israeli Prime Minister who claims that settlements are not the real, obstacle to peace. Yet peace now continues to push for moving Israelis out of the West Bank. Why is this so important?
It's not a secret that we are against settlements. We think that settlements is a post-Zionist idea, that because of the settlements we have occupation in the West Bank, and we would like to see the two-state solution. This is not
Settling
a secret.
Israel is a post-Zionist idea?
This is, in my opinion, because the Zionist idea is talking about a Jewish democratic state.
Incorrect.
And in the West Bank, you
Incorrect.
don't have a democratic values.
Incorrect.
And the settlements
Let's let him
are
finish
being
what he
built
said.
in a place where there is no democracy. And we can argue about that,
The
but you know who is
Declaration
going
of
to make the
Independence-
decision?
The Declaration
Just
of
a second.
Independence says that Zionism is the
Just-
Jews coming back to the land of
And
Israel.
it's talking about democratic principles.
No, it's talking
It
about
doesn't
Jewish
mention-
democracy. You are incorrect.
It's talking about equality.
A
The people will
Jewish
be able
democracy.
to vote even if they are
You
not
are
Jewish
inaccurate.
people. And the
Inaccurate.
people, the Arab people in Judea and Samaria cannot vote because they
They're
are
not
Arab.
Israelis.
Yeah, and this
Not
is why,
because they're Arabs.
because it's not
No.
Israel.
Yariv,
You're totally
Yariv,
right. They are
incorrect.
not Israeli because they are not
cannot
living
vote,
in
not
Israel.
because they're Arabs. They cannot vote because they're not Israeli citizens. Arabs in Israel can vote. The reason they're not Israeli
What is the
citizens
difference?
is because in 1948,
Because it's not Israel.
In 1948,
You
when,
never annexed it.
In 1948, when Jordan took over Judea and Samaria, not the Palestinians, they have no historical
But
claim
now
here.
it's not
Excuse me,
Jordan,
let me
it's-
finish.
but
Let
now
me
it's
finish.
us.
Jordan built the refugee camps, not Israel.
But-
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Therefore, they were never Israeli citizens. Of course they don't.
Because
When
it's not
Mexicans
Israel.
come to America illegally, they
Also,
also
the
don't have to
Israeli
vote.
Arabs never been in Israeli Arabs before they got citizenship.
That's true,
from
and
Israel.
those Arabs who were in Yaffo and
And-
Jerusalem became Israeli
Okay,
Arabs.
so let's.
But-
I just want to
but
hear the
yeah.
rest of why you guys are pushing for
But
this.
we don't think that we can evacuate the West Bank and have the two-state solution by going to the Supreme Court. This is not our goal. Our goal when we are going to the Supreme Court is not to make peace between Israelis and Palestinians. This is not the way.
It's just to destroy homes.
The way is to go to the public and to win the election. The only reason why we are doing it is that if the settlements and if the government and the settlers are making the decision to build settlements, at least do it on a state land and not on private Palestinian land. At least don't steal new land from people. Now, Ofra was established a long time ago, and if we were smart enough then to go to the Supreme Court, maybe we could stop it. But we didn't. So it's effect on the ground. Amona, on the first day Amona came into the place, we were starting the legal process. And this is the
2005,
difference
10
between,
years later.
this is the difference
Yariv,
between
10
both
years later.
of the things.
10 years
No?
later. I want to
And-
start in
and-
95.
and
95. You appealed in
you as a
2005.
Jewish person,
10 don't do that.
You
Don't- yeah,
support
don't do
the
that.
Jewish values.
Yes.
So stand with us.
Okay, so let me
with
explain to you.
people that
I
are
want to show you
against
something.
stealing
I want to show you.
land.
I want to show
Guys,
you.
we're going to
one sec.
have to end the interview now because we've hit our time. Unfortunately, we have to move on to the next story. But thank you so much for coming
Pleasure.
in.
Thank you for
It
having
was
us.
very interesting to hear both of your views, and obviously we're going to have to see what takes place should this evacuation actually go through.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.